Welcome to the Driven Moms Answering Adversity interview series, stories of success through setbacks from Mom Elevated. Together, we can shine a light on how normal challenges and struggles are, along with how we can overcome and rise above them. And today we have Aeoliana to share her story with us. So if you wouldn't mind taking the reins a little bit and telling us just a little bit about your story to get us started.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Jessica. I'm really excited. So, like you said, I'm Aeoliana. I live in Florida and I am a wife. My husband and I have been married for almost 20 years. We hit 20 in May. We are the parents of a 12-year-old hockey player that is life. Our life revolves around the sport. Um, I am also a full-time paralegal, and I also have my own business where I am a podcast launch strategist. I love all things podcasting, love all things true crime. I am a crazy fan of Marvel. We actually just purchased Deadpool and Wolverine, and my husband's downstairs watching it. Um, I like chai tea lattes. I like coloring. I love diving into mindset. I am a fanatic of human design. Um, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love that. Honestly, just hearing the description, I feel like the image behind you is perfect for like coloring
Yeah.
and human design, and I think that's very fitting.
Sunflowers are my thing. Like every time I look at this, I kind of feel like I should color it, but then I'm afraid that if I do, the colors will bleed. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But
Ooh,
it's pretty just on its own. But yeah, it totally looks like I should color it.
it is. I love it. So, with all of that, oh my gosh, what a background. First of all, that's amazing what you are balancing and juggling. I always say the juggle is real
The
in
juggle is real.
motherhood, right? And it sounds like it very much is in your household. So, within all of that, then what along that path, what kind of adversity have you answered and how? Or like the biggest or like the pivotal moment of
Oh,
adversity?
okay. I will give you the biggest. Okay. This is heavy. So in 2017, I was working as a probation officer in our local sheriff's office. A client came in, one of my clients came in with pneumonia. Um, I caught the pneumonia without realizing I had caught it. And I went through a couple of weeks with high fevers, shivers, everything like that, still going to work. I would go to the ER with 103 temperature and they would tell me, you're fine. Don't worry about it. You're okay. Around Valentine's Day, I remember my husband came home with chocolate covered strawberries, which I love. And I said, I don't feel right. I feel toxic. And those were the only words I could come up with. I feel toxic.
Oh, wow.
So I found out that I had gotten walking pneumonia. I still wasn't feeling well, even with the medication they had given me. So my mom took me to the ER. I called my husband and I said, hey, take the baby, pick him up from, he was in pre-K at the time, pick him up, give him dinner, take him to my mom and dad's. And then when you're done, come meet me at the hospital if I'm still here. That was only a few hours. By the time he got to the hospital, I had gone into respiratory arrest. They were intubating me. I had gone into septic shock and all my organs were failing.
Oh my gosh.
So that proceeded to, I was intubated, I don't know how many days. The next thing I remember, it was February 26th. And I remember that because it's my brother's birthday. And I remember he was there. I couldn't talk. I couldn't communicate. I had a tube down my throat. Um, I spent another few days in the hospital and then 3 months of physical therapy to learn how to do everything all over again.
Wow.
Um, so that was the heavy, that's what changed my mindset a lot. Like at the time my son had just started playing hockey. I missed, all of that.
Yeah.
My family rallied around me and it was great because Monday through Thursday my brother and my parents would take my son to school. My brother taught him how to write his name at 3-4 years old. And then on the weekends, my husband would leave me in the hospital with either my mom or my dad. and he would take our son to hockey and spend the weekend with him and be back with me on Monday. Um, so yeah, I mean, from that situation, I think the biggest thing I got out of it was how important family and support, and just before that, I never took time for myself. I never knew how to relax. I was trying to juggle all of the things at the same time,
Mm,
and realizing that that's not possible. Like, I used to think I was really good at multitasking.
yep.
Like, multitasking, I people would ask me what's the best thing that you can do? And I would always say multitasking. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized that I can't multitask. There's no such thing as multitasking, because when you are doing more than one thing, you're not focusing on what's important. You're doing a lot of little things and you're going to miss something important. It
Yeah.
may not be the first time you do it or the second, but down the line, you're going to miss something when you multitask. So it's really taught me to focus on the moment, focus on what I'm doing at that time, and everything else will get done or get completed exactly what it needs to be completed. I don't need to rush. The laundry will get done. The dishes will get done. The dinner will be made. Everything will be done exactly as it needs to be done. I don't need to, lack of a better word, kill myself trying to do everything.
Yeah.
If I need the help, I ask for the help. If I need to take a moment to take a breath, to realign myself, to recenter myself, to check my energy, we do that now. Whereas before I didn't do that.
Did you find the transition from obviously you had kind of you had to start asking for help, but did you find that that was actually kind of a difficult transition going from doing all the things to then because that's something I also was very good at multitasking
Yeah.
and just taking on more and more and just doing it all yourself. But as I started realizing that asking for help is kind of a superpower as well.
Yeah.
But how did you find that transition? That
So,
was
like you said, mine was a little bit different. When I was going through the physical therapy, and, it was very humbling that, something as simple as using the restroom, I couldn't get up and go to the restroom by myself. I had to, even if it was the middle of the night, I had to have someone help me do all of those things. As an adult, you're like, you know, it's it's very it's embarrassing in a way, because you're like, I'm an adult, I shouldn't need this help.
yeah,
But when you're in that situation, you don't have a choice. So then, looking at the rest of my life, going, if I can ask for help and be that vulnerable in that situation, asking for help for anything else really isn't, it shouldn't be that difficult. I don't need to worry anymore about what people think. And I think that's something that I've learned in the last few years, is to completely remove the expectations that people have of me, and just being who I am. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, it's not up to me for you to like or not like. And I know Anna says that a lot, is like, not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to, you know, resonate with what you're saying.
yep.
And just letting go of those expectations, letting go of feeling like I have to please everybody, has been huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say that's a big thing that I work on in my coaching programs or even in the Gift Yourself Grace program. The very last day is expectations because especially as moms, I think we have so many expectations that we hold from society, from other people, from
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, that it can just be so overwhelming and it can weigh you down so much. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to release some of that is so huge. Just earlier today, actually, I had somebody message me. I do an outreach message that's like, hey, let me know what your biggest win was from the last month, and then
Mm-hmm.
let me know what you're working on in the next month. And someone was like, this feels really spammy. And I said, okay, well, I can't control how that feels to you, but it felt
Right.
really good to me. And that's how I check in with people. I really like to know what you are coming up with and what you want to celebrate. Like that's just me. So
Yeah.
it was really powerful because I feel like even just a couple months ago, I would have been like, well, what would have been better for you?
Right, right.
That's not going to matter. I mean, in the
Yeah.
long run.
Right. Plus, it's you when you say stuff like that, like it's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
You know where your heart is and what your intention was in putting it out there.
Yes.
And you knew it was coming from a good place. So for you and for someone who felt it the same way you were putting it out, maybe this person who didn't resonate with it, maybe they're coming from a different place, or maybe they were just spammed right before they saw your message,
Yep.
or maybe they themselves have sent those kinds of messages with the intention of being spammy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I love and it's or maybe they're not ready to receive that message right now. I think
Yeah.
that's
Oh
something
gosh.
that says too.
Being a projector in human design has been, I don't know if you're into that,
Yes.
but
I love it.
I that has been one of the biggest deconditioning lessons I've had to learn, is the fact that I may have insight or something to guide someone through, but if they're not ready, it's just going to hit a brick wall. Like I'm wasting my time talking to them. So really waiting on being invited and being asked. I think the only person I don't do that with is my husband, and that's because he's a projector too.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're two projectors, and then our son is a manifester.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, which is crazy, because we definitely, with him, when he wants to do stuff and when things aren't working out, we're like, that's the manifester in you. And so now he knows. He's like, okay, I don't need to ask permission, but I need to let you know.
Oh,
When I have ideas, it's like, I need to let you know, yes, you don't have to ask for permission, but you need to let us know,
I
and
love that.
and he has his time where he rests. And that's really been something like where I've learned I have to rest. I don't refuel any other way. Like I need to just sit and not do anything. And that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
And giving yourself that space. Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you think then it is about entrepreneurs that makes us continue on through challenges when times get really tough? Or especially from the human design perspective, I think that's really fascinating to kind of see entrepreneurs in different lights.
Yeah.
What makes them continue on when things get tough? And we're like, we're going to do it anyway.
Right. I think it takes a special person to be an entrepreneur, but that special is, anybody can be special in that way. And the reason I say special is because as entrepreneurs, the successful ones understand that it's not just about building your business, but it's also about building yourself. It's about figuring out who you are and what your purpose is. And that's really messy. That's really hard, because that's work that doesn't resolve itself as quickly as other things. So, like, you could take a business and figure out how to do marketing, learn all the things about marketing. But if your mindset isn't right before you go into the marketing, it doesn't matter how good of a marketer you are, it's not going to work. You're going to get the same roadblocks every single time.
Yep.
And I like to say it's like, when you start working on your mindset, you open up one can of worms. And when you think you've closed that can of worms, there's another one that opens somewhere else that you have to catch really quick. So it really is, like you were saying earlier, like a juggling act. You're constantly, it's never something that fixes itself. It's always something we're working towards. And I think entrepreneurs who are successful are ones that understand the importance of that. And you also have to go into business not for yourself, but looking at what can you do for somebody else? How can you serve? How can you help someone else? The bigger picture.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
why I think those of us who keep going despite slow starts, or, you have months where nothing is happening, no one's calling you, we still continue and we still put out the content. We still want to help. We still want to serve, because it's far more than just ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. That's so true. On the
Yeah,
same lines, then, what overall takeaway or lesson do you think that other mompreneurs would be able to use specifically from your experience and what you've been through on this journey?
definitely give yourself grace. Definitely realize that you are doing far more than you think you are. And you are doing exactly what you're supposed to do, whether that's being a partner, a mother, a business owner, wherever you fall in there. Who you are has nothing to do with what you're doing. Who you are is more than enough to fill in the gaps in everything else that you're doing.
Yay. How do you remind yourself of that? Like
Oh
along with,
gosh.
yeah.
It's like for me, um I do have to remind myself of that all the time because I'm a big my troll of choice is imposter syndrome, not feeling like I'm good enough for anything. And it creeps into me a lot, like being a mother, like I'm not a good enough mother, or being a wife, I'm not doing the right things, or with my job or with my business, I don't know enough to be able to help. And for me, journaling is a really good thing when I feel like that. Um, Self-coaching is another thing that I do that really helps. And tapping,
Oh,
EFT tapping is something, and I've taught it to my son too. Like sometimes on the hockey bench, if he's feeling frustrated, he tells me, he's like, "Mommy, I'm doing my tapping. I'm doing my tapping." You know, so yeah, that definitely, those are three things. And prayer also is something that has really helped me to kind of reframe my thoughts, to not so much to remove them completely, but just to reframe them in a way that I can accept them until they get to where they actually need to be.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I love that. I love I've heard so many people that use the tapping technique, and
Mm-hmm.
I've just started kind of dabbling in it. So I love hearing more about it and seeing
Yeah.
how people are using it and with their kids especially too, because I have my middle one is very emotionally
Mm-hmm.
connected to others,
Mm-hmm.
soaks up a lot of other people's emotions. And so like helping her through that, I think that's a technique that definitely helps her kind of get out of other people's spaces and
Yep.
back into her own. I just find it so fascinating.
Yeah. I
Um,
love it. It's great. Like I sometimes I'll do tapping, like I'll find a tapping video on YouTube, and sometimes I'll just sit and I know where to tap now, like I know the sequence, and
mhm.
I'll just add my own statements to it. I'll add my own, like I've been working on, I haven't done it yet, but I have the script to do EFTs for um podcasters. So like to find, to realize that your message matters, or to overcome the overwhelm or the burnout and stuff like that. So I have them set aside in my content bank. I just haven't recorded them yet, but I'm
Amazing.
working on those.
That'll be fantastic. I love it.
I'm looking forward to it. I'll send it to you when I do them.
Yeah, please do. Do you also I like to do like specific reflection points where I will look
Mm-hmm.
back and say, okay, like once a year, I really like meeting with my assistant because getting that overall view of obviously I'm in my head and I'm like, well, I know what I think I've been doing, but being able to see it and compare it to like last year's numbers or even looking at like this year, I wanted to grow my group. And so looking at the past numbers and seeing how much it's grown, because when you look at it day to day, it kind of just becomes old hat and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, what's next? That's okay, I guess. But when
Mm-hmm.
you look at it from like months ago to now or a
Mm-hmm.
year ago to now, it's such a bigger picture and that really
Yeah.
helps put things in perspective for me as
Yeah.
far as like making sure that I keep myself in check and I'm like, no, I'm doing great. This is good
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. And the good thing about that, so I don't really look at numbers, but for me, I journal, like I said. And so I like to look back at what I journaled a year ago and where my mind was a year ago and
Yeah.
where it is now. Um, so that's been really helpful. And if you are a numbers person, the best thing you can do is set a goal however crazy you think it is. And then when you look at it a year later, you're going to realize that you're far closer to that goal than
Yeah.
you were a year before. So you may not have hit it. I mean, it's totally possible that you hit it and surpassed it. But if you weren't, you've got to look at, where was I a year ago compared to where I am now? And you'll find that you are so much closer to that end goal now than you were when you started.
Yeah. I love that. I also really like using your journal as a way to look back and see where your mind's. That's fantastic. I need to start doing
Yeah.
it.
I journal like if I'm having a conversation.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I had
That's all.
somebody told me in one of my last interviews, I don't even remember how far ago it was, probably in the summer. But she said that she likes to write as if she's talking to a best friend. Like, how
Yeah.
would I my best friend? Because then she said you can look at it and you're like, "Oh, I'm not being nice to myself. This is not good. I need to not do that because I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that to my best friend."
Right.
So I think that's
Yeah.
really
My journaling, this is going to be kind of sad, but I had a miscarriage several, like my son is 12 now. So it would have been 13 years ago. No, my niece is 15. So it would have been 15 years ago.
okay.
And I write in my journal as if I'm talking to that child, updating them on what's going on, and things like that. And so sometimes I write from that point. Sometimes I write like if I'm having a conversation with God and I'm, like, this is what's happening. This is what I need help with. And so that's how my process is with journaling. We all
Actually,
have different processes.
yeah, no, I think that's beautiful though, and a good way to keep the memory alive and still positive in a positive way. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
wonderful. Oh. What then is the best way for others to find you if they would like to learn more about you, work with you, be in your space?
Yeah. So the best thing is my website. So it's www.topshelfvirtualservices.com. My socials are in there. All my resources are in there, free, paid. My blog is in there. You can opt into my newsletter and get my freebie in there. All of the things are in there. You'll see pictures of my kid in his element. You'll see pictures of my husband, me, all of the things. That is the best place to find everything.
I love that. And I will have it in the description as well, but just in case they're only listening, they can still find you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I love speaking with you.
Absolutely. I feel like I could talk to you all day.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so conversations when they're natural, they're so much fun.
I agree. Yeah, right? And I feel like I learn not only about you, but then you get that personality touch to it as well, and
Yeah.
it's like icing on the cake. I love it.
Yeah, right. Because we've spoken before, but
Yeah.
it's been like through texts and messages and things like that. So the contact like face to face is like a different level of, someone even better now.
Yeah. It's like talking to a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
I love it. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank
as
you.
always, I like to say your story is inspirational and your willingness to be open about it is very much appreciated and needed in this space and time. I don't think it's ever going to go away that we need to be able to connect to people in this way, but I think it's really, really, especially right now where so much is
Mhm.
divided, it's nice to bring people together in this way. So thank
Absolutely.
you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And for those of you out there facing your own adversity, know that you're not alone. We are doing this for that very purpose. When you need an extra hand or a mind for brainstorming during your mompreneur journey, we would also love to work with you through the Mom Elevated Society, which now includes Gift Yourself Grace. As I was talking about earlier, we go over goals, relationships, actions, connections, and expectations over a week. It's super fun. You'll find monthly check-ins for goal setting and assessing, and also so much more for your business and your mom life. And until next time, keep shooting for the stars.